What's going on YouTube? It's Ben Nader, and you already know this is the channel where we talk about recruiting. I vlog every single day about recruiting, entrepreneurship, staffing, business, anything in between there. And if you like that stuff, definitely become a subscriber by smashing that subscribe button. So today I want to talk about candidate and client experience in the recruiting process. So let's start with the client experience. Basically, this has to be really, really good. So if you're a recruiting agency and you're obtaining clients that are paying you to support them with candidates and supply their whole workforce, you need to ensure the fact that you're giving them a very good client experience. And that starts by showing them value up front. So the number one thing that you can do is deliver your value all the way up front. This starts when you first outreach to them. This starts when you negotiate with them, when you sign an agreement with them, and then you first start having conversations and sending over candidates. So at the start, from Jump Street, you literally need to be having super, super valuable conversations that are really explicit, direct. Make sure you're setting proper expectations. Make sure you're giving them all of the details that they need. Make sure that you're getting all the details that you need from them. This is a two-way street. So your client needs to be providing you with information as well, because ultimately at the end of the day, that's going to give them a better client experience as well if they provide you the information that you need, like salary ranges, benefits, PTO, things that you need to communicate to your candidates so that you can bring them the top tier candidates, and your candidates will have the right expectations when they come on board as well. So treat your clients with respect. Make sure that you're always very amicable with them. Ensure that you never get, kind of rowdy or say something unappreciative of them or anything of the sort, or be terse with them. Just make sure that you're always treating them with the same level of respect they're treating you, and it'll be a great relationship in the long run. And those are some things about client experience. I think that overall you need to deliver your client results, and that's the biggest thing about client experience, because ultimately they chose you, they saw your value, they want to work with you, and at the end of the day, it's all about results anyways. So the biggest thing for client experience is delivering that client results. So that means quality candidates, candidates that aren't going to be spacey, candidates that aren't going to be, flaky on them, candidates that aren't going to, skip interviews or not show up on the first day, all that kind of stuff, right? So deliver value for that client, give them a good client experience, and that will pay off in dividends and referrals, repeat business, and so many other things I can't even explain right now. Let's move on to candidate experience. And this is one you've probably heard more about, because a lot of people talk about candidate experience and what the candidate should go through and all of that. But in my opinion, these things are hand in hand, because you can't have one without the other. So in candidate experience, you need to make sure that you're finding candidates that are qualified for this particular position, right? So it's almost an insult if you approach a candidate that's not qualified or way overqualified for a particular role. So you need to make sure that you're meeting them right in kind of that sweet spot where they're perfectly qualified for this particular role and that they can deliver value to the client. Otherwise, you're giving a bad candidate experience to that candidate. If they were to show up to an interview and it was a mismatch between the client and candidate, it's going to be a bad experience for the candidate. It could be embarrassing and things like that. And it's just not the best. Again, treat your candidates with respect. They're equally as important as your client. And so both of them are really important assets for you to have. And so treat them with respect, give them all of the dignity that they need, answer all of their questions properly. Don't, be terse or short with them. If you say you're going to call them at a certain time, call them at that certain time for a phone interview. Let them ask as many questions as they like, that sort of thing. So, treat those candidates with respect, because they're very, very valuable to you. They're basically your currency in this business, right? So value them as an asset, just like you would the client overall. I'd say be very upfront with them as well. Have explicit conversations about expectations and what the results that they're supposed to be delivering are, what the expectations of the client are, and those sorts of things. So have a really explicit and direct conversation with them about everything related to the client that they're applying for and that you're representing them for. Because at the end of the day, again, you want that perfect sweet spot match. You don't want anything to mismatch. You don't want anyone to be caught off guard or, misguided or anything like that. So just understand their value, be upfront with them, and they'll have a good candidate experience overall. So to put the two together, candidate and client experience go literally hand in hand. Reason being is because you quite frankly can't have one without the other. What good is a great client without a bunch of good candidates? It doesn't work that way. If you had an excellent client, no candidates, or candidates that have really bad experiences and don't want to, go through the whole deal, nothing's going to work out, and it just won't be a good match. On the same note, if you have a really good candidates and you have a very bad client that's having a very bad experience with you, well, that's not fun either, because your client won't want to interview the candidates that you have for them. So you're basically working for free, you end up wasting your time, things like that. So overall, you can't have one without the other. They need to match up equally. You need to treat both of them with respect. They're both equally valuable to you. Client and candidate experience overall literally need to match like almost on point to be a successful relationship for you. I'd say that a good client with a bad candidate is not going to match. A bad candidate with a good client is not going to match. You just need to make sure that you're putting the two together in the right way, in the right order. And if you do that, you're pretty much going to be successful. And so you have to bear in mind, running a recruiting agency, you're throwing on multiple hats all the time, right? So you're throwing on, your agency hat and you're dealing with the client. And then you're throwing on your interviewer hat and you're dealing with the candidate. And when you switch those off, you need to be really, really fluid and know what you're doing, know what you're talking about, and know how to work with each party individually and know how to treat them properly, both so that everyone has a good experience. And here's the moral of the story. At the end of the day, if both parties have a great experience, then they're going to work together perfectly. And if they work together perfectly, that means you did your job and you're going to get a fee out of it, right? So it's in your best interest that your client and your candidate both have an awesome experience. And in the long run, that client or the candidate is so worth your time and energy into making their experience well for referrals, repeat business, and all sorts of things down the line. So that's all I want to talk about today. Client and candidate experience. Make sure that you're making them good for both parties and you will do well. All right, guys, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Smash that like button if this was valuable to you. Let me know in the comments what you think as well. I'd love to hear about it. I will catch you guys on Friday. Take care.